What's up everybody, my name is Zach REDRUP and welcome to the It's Not a Phase podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by 3 Days Grace drummer Neil Sanderson to talk about the band's new album, Explosions. We also talk about how COVID impacted how it was written and recorded, putting a setlist together this deep into their careers, the video for their single Lifetime, the upcoming 20th anniversary of their self-titled debut, and loads more. Before we get started, let's cover off the boring stuff. If you enjoy this episode and would like to support the podcast, please consider subscribing, rating, and leaving a review wherever you're listening to this. We also have a Patreon, where everyone gets access to each episode a week earlier than everyone else, a Discord community, and a merch store too. You can also follow and reach out to me on social media. All of the links can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. And with all of that out of the way, let's jump right into this week's episode of It's Not a Phase. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today on this episode of It's Not a Phase, where I'm joined by Neil from 3 Days Grace. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, man. Really good. You know, the big news, we'll go right off the bat, is you guys have just released your 7th album, Explosions. How does it feel to finally have that out there? And how, so far, I know it's only been a few days, but how are the fans kind of taken to that?
It's always really surreal, because we sit and work and it's all in-house, and you just have to, every time, no matter whether, we've done it 7 times now, but you still have to trust your instinct that, you're making something that people are going to get behind and believe in and enjoy. So we never take that for granted. And I think that that's one of the major driving forces for us to kind of wake up and work as hard as we do every day. Making this record was obviously, different for so many reasons, because the world was a different place for the last, 2.5 years. Yeah. But we were lucky that, we had toured the world so much in 2018 and 2019 that even before the pandemic hit, we had decided, hey, let's not tour in 2020 at all. Let's just take it off. We can regroup. We're all kind of small town Canadian guys. We like to go fishing and boating and all that kind of stuff. So we're let's kind of just take some time. And then the pandemic hit. We were well, we're actually fortunate that we were not out there canceling shows and tours or just having released a record that we can't really properly promote. So we just we went to work, and then, it seemed like 2021 was going to be more of the same. And we just found ways to be creative, even over long distances. Our producers in Los Angeles we're in Canada, but spread out. And so this record, we used a combination of, video conferencing and some other tools that actually allow you to kind of connect studios. So you can kind of be in your home studio and be able to collaborate with someone who can be on the other side of the world, but it feels like you're in the same room together. So we did a lot of that, which created a different dynamic, and that was the writing process and quite a bit of the recording process as well. Yeah. So that whole, and that throws a lot of unknowns into the mix when it comes to how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? It's not traditional. Yeah. But so all of that coming together and finally having the release day, and you can hold it in your hand and throw it out to the world. And you ask how people are reacting to it. It's been overwhelmingly positive, and so that's always just that feeling. It's a great relief. It's you feel like you can kind of just breathe for a minute, even though we're workaholics. It's okay, let that music simmer and, and let's go out live and rock it on stage, and so it's been pretty awesome so far.
I guess those, because you guys have been a band for quite a while now, and, kind of being forced to, try these different methods and stuff of writing and recording. I guess that kind of also made things kind of fresh for you and kind of kept you guys on your toes as well.
Yeah, I think that there's just, there's a lot of variables on this record just with the process. And one of the biggest things, too, is that we used a different mixer on this album who's actually from your neck of the woods, I believe. Okay. Dan Lancaster mixed our new album, who is just killing it right now. We heard some of the stuff that Bring Me the Horizon was releasing, and we were like, okay, who's mixing this? Let's go with that guy. Yeah. And actually, I just saw this. He actually mixed the new. He mixed "Won't Stand Down" by Muse. Okay, cool. And I just saw a post today that he's been playing concerts with Muse. He did a few shows as their keyboard backup singer. I was like, so Dan is he's totally crushing it. He's the nicest guy to work with, and so that definitely brought a fresh approach to sort of putting the final touches on this album. And it just has a modern, fresh aggression that was new for 3 Days Grace.
So was this the whole record done like entirely remotely, or was it kind of like you just did like the demoing and the pre-production kind of?
Pretty much all of the writing, because all the writing was happening when like you felt like you had to wear a hazmat suit around someone else, you know. But no, we actually, one variable that we've never really done before is we recorded the drums last. Right. And normally we record the drums first, but just because of logistics and such, and I programmed basically, I just with this right here with my keyboard, I programmed a skeleton of what the drum parts would be, and then we recorded over that. And then at the very end, I went and kind of and took that as an influence and played that. And that was really, I actually really enjoyed that process because I had already sort of mapped out drum wise what I wanted to do and what I thought would work and not. And then I could rehearse to that. It was already in existence. So the drum parts are a little bit busier than normal because I had freedom at the keyboard to program whatever I wanted to. And then it was just up to me to learn how to play it behind the drums. And so that created a different dynamic. And so when I recorded the drums, they were done in Canada, but some of the guitars, Barry would record at home, and we would take the DI signal as if the signal that you would take out of your guitar and put it into an amplifier. We had that signal, and we could then take that and put it into a studio and actually run it through whatever amps we want to get whatever sound we want. So that was different. And then, a lot of the vocals were done at my, I have a house in the woods where our singer lives nearby, and I built a small vocal booth, and we had our production crew and our engineers come out in person, and we had campfires and drank beer when we weren't working, and then our producer was online over Zoom, and he was in Los Angeles, kind of calling the shots. So there was a lot of different variables. Yeah, we got it done in a
huge operation, really.
It was a huge operation. Yeah. But you know what? It's one thing about doing a lot of it over Zoom and at home is you don't even know if I'm wearing pants right now. It's like, it's like you can just stay in your pajamas if you want to.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think you're gonna, all these kind of new ways of working that you've kind of adopted, with COVID being there? Do you think that's something that you'll take with you in future releases?
Definitely in the writing process, yes. Because the writing process, I like being in the comfort of my own home when I'm being creative. And, it's not much different than what we're doing right now is we're just sharing conversation, talking about the song, talking about, we write, as far as lyrics, we write kind of about real life scenarios. So half the time we're telling stories and talking about our lives and the lives of people around us and the world going on around us. And most of our songs start from there anyway. So I think that, yes, in terms of writing, for sure. I think that recording, there's an element of being in the room together a little bit more that just can, you can play off of each other a little bit more. So we were lucky that we had a combination of some of that because, most of us are in Canada and there's a studio that we did get out to, and we did have that bonding. But yeah, I think it'll be, not just music, I think in every industry, we're going to see a lot more people kind of woken up to like, maybe you don't have to go to the office every single day, or maybe you don't have to go to the studio every single day. And it just, creates a dynamic. You just have to be kind of open to that, not being so old school that you're like, I don't work like that. I only work like this.
Yeah. You've got to adapt to change.
We're not into that. We're like, let's like swim with the current or drown,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you kind of employ that as well with, your social media, like a lot of bands, the more, slightly more established bands and stuff like that are kind of like hesitant to jump on TikTok, but you guys are on there, and you're making the most of it. Yeah.
I mean, we're not like selling our souls or anything. We're not up there doing any dances or anything like that. For us, it's like, it's always most important to reach our fans and to engage our fans. And that's what it's all about. That's the reason we get to do what we do every day. So in terms of using new tools to reach those fans and, and have them, because some of the coolest stuff is the fan generated content. It's like fans doing their thing to our music and being inspired by our music, and things like TikTok allow that to happen. So I don't see any reason, not to be open-minded to all of these new ways to interact with your fans.
100%. So you've talked about, the album, and, you've got it's called Explosions. Now, talk to me a bit about the reason for the title. Why did you settle on the track Explosions as being the title track for the record? And, you've also mentioned you guys write about real life situations that you're going in around that time. Did, the situation of COVID kind of seep into the lyrics a little bit?
I don't think like we were careful not to sort of like, we did not want to timestamp anything because the concept goes much further beyond being like quarantined for 3 years. But I Explosions, the title and the concept and that concept has a common thread throughout most of the album, contemplates the notion that we all have this sort of explosive nature inside of us where we bottle things up inside. We're afraid to, it's a common human trait to be afraid to just express yourself and say what you want to say and be who you want to be without consequence. And we all have that boiling point on the inside. And in modern life right now, for a number of reasons, not just, the last 3 years, but just lots of things, I think we are hesitant to, boldly express ourselves and be who we are and just say what we want to say and do what we want to do, for many, many reasons. I can name, because of the notion of having to hear everyone's negative opinion about who you are, what you think, what you believe, the whole notion of cancel culture of like, oh, you said the wrong thing by accident and now you're done. And also just not being able to get out there physically, or being at a disadvantage for just being able to go and be all that you can be, in a way. I know that sounds like a slogan, but so what happens is, when you feel like that from many angles is a lot of people kind of just feel that boiling over point, bottling up inside. We all have that explosive quality, and exploding is not always the right way to go when you feel like that. And so, if you look at songs like So-Called Life, that sort of talks about, well, what's the other option? Well, the other option is finding something that takes the edge off of that boiling over explosive feeling, So that's one facet of the concept, but there's a kind of a juxtaposition with the notion of we are born amongst explosions, from the smallest thing you can think from on an atomic level to the birth of the universe.
Yeah.
So
a grand concept.
Yeah, so there's it's analogous to the explosive nature within all of us, but maybe it's comforting to know that we're born into a universe that is based upon explosions and the notion of release and just expansion. Yeah. And it's okay to expand and just kind of like, and the song Explosions, I kind of talk about it. It's almost like a lullaby, and you're singing to someone who is looking around and there's like chaos and fire and on the inside, they don't know how to feel. And it seems like an emergency. And you're kind of singing to that person saying, it's okay. It's okay to feel like that. It's okay that there's fire and chaos around us because we're born into this. We're meant to be like this and to live like this. So I think that's kind of the synopsis of how the song generated into the whole general concept of explosion.
This record as well has kind of broken you guys' tradition and given, 3 days grace, not the 3 year grace between albums. How does it kind of feel that you've kind of broken that tradition this time around? I mean, obviously COVID didn't help matters, did it? But
yeah, well, the main reason, I mean, it's not that magical of a reason. It's mainly because our singer had a baby and I bought a boat.
Oh, so life stuff, basically.
Yeah, we needed an extra year because I wanted to go boating and he had to deal with a baby. So, but yeah, we just, we know when it's right. The last thing we would want to do is rush anything out, but we're not going to be like Tool and take 13 years to make a record. But everyone's different, right? It's like, how much do you want to work and how much do you want? It's just your life balance of what you want to do. So, we're happy with the timing and that the world is opening up and we've got all these great tour dates coming up and we're, going to be doing another couple laps around the world and that. Yes. So the timing's cool for us.
I guess as well, like, it's kind of difficult to say, like you say, obviously everyone's different. It's also difficult to say, like, when do you know that a song is ready or an album is ready? Like, only you guys know when your album is ready, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, some of the songs, there's 20 versions of it,
Right.
It's like, and other songs was like, they came out, we wrote them and we're like, wow, that's great. That's going to be done. Let's put that there. It's ready to go. So, I think the worst thing you can do in art is put a time constraint on it. I mean, playing live is because playing live feels the exact opposite. It's like, we're going to be there. We better have our shit together. It's like, that's the day. Yeah. Let's go. So that's enough like time pressure musically for us. And I think to do that in the studio would probably just be a not good for the end result.
On the album, you brought in Lucas Rossi on the track Neurotic, and then you got Apocalyptica on Someone to Talk To. What was it kind of like working with those, and how did they come on board to, be a part of the album?
Lucas and I are great friends. We kind of came up in the Toronto music scene together when we were teenagers, and he's always been one of my favorite singers. He and I actually put out a side project. We did like one song, but it was this song. It was a more of an EDM version of the song Neurotic.
Okay.
That we actually put out we called ourselves King City, and we put out one song, but he lived in LA, I lived in Toronto, we were like, what are we going to do? Tour when I'm not touring with 3 Days Grace? I'm like, I don't think so. So we just kind of left it at that. But that song existed, and it was like our heart, even like, hardcore 3 Days Grace fans were always kind of like, you guys got to record that. And so 3 Days Grace just decided, let's do a heavy version of it, and let's have Lucas on it as well. And that's becoming like a fan favorite, that song. When we play it live, it's just slow and heavy. It's like sludge rock, and we listen to a lot of like slow, heavy, like stoner rock, and that's kind of one. But we kept some of the electronic elements on that one.
Yeah.
Apocalyptica, this song was just like pretty and delicate. And it was kind of, we had a lot of little sounds in it, and it's definitely a broken down song for 3 Days Grace. And we thought Apocalyptica would just bring in some size, but we wanted to keep it cinematic, and, they're like the master of the cello. And so we just decided that was like the right play. It was just maybe have them come in and put some big cello size and keep it that sort of whimsical cinematic feel. And they jumped at the chance. They have a history with our producer Howard Benson, so that just came about, and we sent it over to Sweden, and it came back, and it sounds like that.
Yeah. For one of the singles, Lifetime, you did the video in Mayfield. Had a devastating tornado attack, and you did the video there. I imagine that was quite a emotional experience. Being there, in the midst of all of that, as these communities are trying to come together and bring everything back.
Yeah, well, the first thing we did was we called down there to just make sure that it was okay, because what we didn't want to do is like go down there, shoot a video and say, oh, this sucks, and then leave. That wasn't our intention. It actually hit pretty close to home, literally and figuratively, to our guitar player who lives in Southern Indiana.
Right.
And he has some property, and he actually found like photos and debris, and he lives like 200 miles away. So, and he also knew people that were directly affected by it, and, as living just a couple hours away. As far as the song, we were just kind of, it's a hopeful song, but it is a song about loss. And we just started reading this story about this town that just got completely leveled. And there was suddenly so much international news going on with like, what's going on in Europe and such, Eastern Europe and such, that this story just literally got swept under rug. And these people are like living in shelters, and so we were like, why don't we just do something good, and like let's raise some awareness and maybe some money or some sort of initiative. So we reached down there. They were like, we would love to have you down there. It feels like nobody's talking about this tragedy. So we went down, and it's just Matt in the video, but I decided to go down there just to lay eyes on it. I took my 14-year-old daughter down there to check it out, and I had never seen anything like it. It felt like I was in a scientific sci-fi movie or something. Just everything was just blown to smithereens. Yeah. And then I got talking to some of the families, and, there's still an element of hope where most people are like, well, we're just got to rebuild. What else, we just got to get it done. And that's like pretty meaningful to kind of, and like hopeful to see people like resilient in the face of that kind of challenge.
Yeah.
And so we ended up, after we made the video, we decided to like add $1 to every ticket for our upcoming US tour. And so, if we can get a few people talking about it and, I don't know, make a bit of a difference. We have the audience, and we have the stage and the podium to say what we want sometimes. And so I think it's cool to use that space to, to do something bigger than just music.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know how much you've managed to help raise at all, or are you not?
Not yet. No, not yet. I mean, the tour hasn't started yet. But I think, a lot of people, I think, just by us pointing to this tragedy and telling the story and introducing some people to kind of dig deeper, I think it's a decent start.
Yeah, I mean, awareness in the first place, like you say, not many people knew about that tragedy, and then you guys come in and make sure that people, at least, your fan base and everyone who checks you guys out, know what's going on. Yeah. I mean, people, it's like, what happens to, a devastating story when Will Smith slaps Chris Rock,
is a lot of it just gets not talked about anymore because people's attention span is so low. And, that's the way that the media kind of operates. And sometimes that pisses me off a little bit.
Yeah.
That is just the way that it is. It's like, suddenly there's a slap at the Oscars and everyone's forgetting about this over here that actually fucking matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also did it was like a memories kind of page for the life, to promote the single, the Lifetime single, where your fans kind of contributed their own memories and stuff. I guess that was like quite a, a nice and humble way of kind of connecting with your fans, with the kind of themes that the song talks about. Yeah,
we did the same thing with a song that we put out in 2016 called "Fallen Angel," and that song's also about loss. Like, I think if you look at the statistics for our band in terms of like our childhood, what happened. I don't think we've suffered any more than anybody, but we've had our fair go at loss personally in our lives. So we speak about it. We're not afraid to talk about it, and I think our people that listen to that, if they can feel attached to the notion that they're not alone in like feeling that how to process certain feelings like loss, I think that just it's therapy. And I think it's a powerful connection if we can put into words what other people are feeling.
Yeah.
And it's so much so where they feel like they're not alone. I mean, that's pretty big it feels like you're doing something.
Yeah. You're doing your part, you're trying to help people.
Yeah, man.
Well, you guys have been going, for around 25 years now. How deep you've been this deep into your career. How much does, you've got this like solid fan base going on. How much does, appeasing the old fans, but also kind of trying to draw new fans in kind of come into play when you're writing your music? Or is it very much, you guys just want to kind of write for yourselves and just see where things fall?
I think the most important thing for us is staying true to ourselves and writing from what's up here and what's in the heart, and not trying to write for anybody else as far as lyrical concept anyways.
Yeah.
As soon as it feels contrived or feel like we don't really, you're not going to hear 3 Days Grace write like a party song, like partying on a Friday night. Like that's just not our thing at all, and it never will be. But that's because that's for us. That's because we wouldn't get off on that. But I think musically and production wise, we kind of try to push the limits a little bit and do that just to keep it fresh for us. But also, and I think the new record, like using Dan Lancaster was like a big step for us to, use some elements and some sounds and some direction that we wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah.
So I think we definitely take chances with that, with production and musical vibe. But as far as the themes generally talk about sort of inner struggle and the human condition that we all live with every day, for better or for worse. Yeah. I think that kind of stays pretty much the same, but I think that that's not necessarily just for our old fans, but I think that's just a timeless human nature, is that you want to, if you can hear, we're all kind of thinking the same thing a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of not really age specific.
Yeah. And it's, it's relatable, you're talking about life, stuff that everyone goes through. Exactly. So it's relatable no matter, like I say, if your new fans come in or, your existing fans, it's all relatable.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like we've been in it long enough that there's a next generation of fans that are, coming out with their parents, I guess, and they're discovering 3 Days Grace for the first time, or, or really kind of, they heard it as kids and now they're kind of taking it on as a band that they're a fan of, which is super cool to witness.
Yeah. So, you're looking out into this sea of fans, like you say, you've seen the parents and you've seen the kids with their parents and, the teenagers and stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Makes me feel a little, well, I'm not going to say old, but distinguished.
Yeah, that's the right word.
All right, good.
So with so many hits in your catalog now, you got 7 albums now under your belt. When it comes to composing your set lists, it must be kind of difficult to trying to put all those hits in that fans are kind of going to want to hear when they come and see you, but also giving your new songs some time to shine live.
Yeah. So right now we're just playing, when we play a headline show, we're playing like So-Called Life and Neurotic and Lifetime because they're released. I personally don't like when I want to go see a band that I've loved for 20 years and they play all new material. I'm not into that. Like, I know, I get it. Like we want to play the new material because that's exciting and new, but from the fan perspective, just to play everything new and like ignore like the classic songs, I think isn't cool for the ticket buyer. So we kind of we weed in songs here and there, but so as they release, you know, but we don't play a lot of like deep cut album tracks that nobody knows. We're just I don't know. We've got the hits. We've been lucky enough to have so many number ones and have so much radio airplay and stuff. It's like, feel like we'd be doing a disservice to the fans if we don't like rock those for the fans, you know, and make it about them.
Is there any particular song that you don't, you know, really play live that you would love to play live?
Oh, I can't wait to play I Am the Weapon. That's a new song on the new album. And you know, it might be a single in the near future. I cannot wait to play that song. It's kind of like it's like a fan favorite is a song called Riot, which is off of 1X, which wasn't even a radio single. It just got picked up by the fans as like the favorite song to play live. So we play it last a lot, and that's when the crowd just goes absolutely crazy. And I have a feeling I Am the Weapon is going to kind of have that same effect.
Time will tell, man. Time will tell. Yeah. So next year will also mark the 20th anniversary of your debut album, your self-titled debut. Are you guys planning on celebrating that milestone in any way at all?
I imagine we'll be on the road because we're planning on just embarking on a tour. So it'll probably just be like a night of like just, I don't know, beer drinking and cheer. You know, maybe we'll be in a pub somewhere and we'll cheers it, or maybe we'll do a special show, maybe where we play it front to back. But you know, we are experts at celebration, so we'll find a way to celebrate.
So, you know, you've got plenty of stuff. You know, you said yourself, you've got plenty of touring coming up, such as you got UK dates coming in September. What else is coming up for 3 Days Grace this year that you can talk about?
Well, we've got, you know, lots of summer touring, a lot of headlining, and then, the European tour, which I'm really excited about. And then right after that, we're doing a full Canadian tour. So we're going to be on the road pretty extensively right till the end of the year. And just, you know, this record is just kind of in its infancy, and we generally tour for 2 years on a record. So, you know, I think a lot of the festivals we're playing catch up on, like, because of cancellations and stuff. So we kind of stayed clear of playing all of the festivals, but next summer we're going to like hit every, you know, cause I love myself a good, you know, Download Fest and a, you know, Rock'em Ring. And those are so much fun. Yeah. So I think like come next year, you're going to see us on a lot of those big ones. But in the meantime, basically just like, headlining one stint in Europe and then Canada in the cold. We always tour Canada in the wintertime for some strange reason.
You know, congrats on the album. Congrats on, you know, all this touring you got coming up. You got to catch up on the downtime you had during COVID. Before I let you go in and enjoy the rest of your day, have you got any final words? Anything else? We want to thank the fans. Like to see, you know, to make this record and just see how positive the reaction is and how excited people are, and to have tour dates on the books, you know, that people can kind of come and see it all live again. And, you know, I think I always take time to just thank the fans and the industry that's been, you know, there have been a lot of twists and turns in 3 Days Grace, to say the least, and to see everybody like on board with us on this crazy adventure is like pretty cool to see, you know. So I just like I give it a shout out to the people that can allow us to continue to do that whenever I can. So that's about it. That's cool, man. Well, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it. Awesome. Enjoy the rest of your day. Again, congrats on the new album and the touring, and hopefully I'll see you on the road soon.
Thanks, Zach. Take care.
And that's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please consider supporting the podcast in any way that you can. We have a Patreon where you can get access to each episode a week early, along with some other perks, a merch store, a Discord community, or you can leave a review wherever you're listening to this. You can also follow me on social media or subscribe to the newsletter, where I'll send out each episode to you via email, along with regular playlists. All of this can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again for listening, and remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.